Hi, my name is Rebecca, and welcome to my music studio. I'm so glad that you're here. In my studio and on this channel, we spend a lot of time making beautiful music, whether this is your first time touching the piano keys or you've been playing for many years. Maybe you know how to read music really superbly and have been studying that for a long time, but have never learned how to sit down and just make beautiful music. That's what I'm here for, because I also never learned that from my piano teacher or my years in college playing the piano. And so today we're going to be looking at a different key. We're going to branch out a little bit and play in a key that has 3 sharps in it. If you're not familiar with sharps, I'm going to show you exactly what they are. Doesn't necessarily mean black notes, but in this case, it's 3 different black notes that you need to remember. And once you understand what the key of A major is, which is the key that we're going to play in, it's going to be very simple. A lot of times when we improvise also, we play in 4/4 time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We hear a lot of songs in 4/4, and so it just comes naturally to play that on the piano. But if we don't venture into playing in some different time signatures, you'll be leaving out a whole section of music that's really beautiful. This is more of a waltz style, so it'll sound like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So we're going to do our chord progression today in the key of A major in 3/4 time instead of 4/4 time. So come with me to the piano. I'll show you exactly how it's done. Thank you so much for all the support that you've given me over the past few months of being on YouTube. I especially appreciate those of you who have given me a cup of coffee. I just love it because it gets me through the day, and I'm so, so grateful and thankful. If you want to support me in a free way, make sure that you are commenting below. I would love to know today where you are watching from. I'm in the Southwest in America, and I love it here. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it has become springtime. So we're very happy to be in the spring in the Southwest. Make sure you also subscribe, share, all those good things. And now let's go to the piano. So let's start out today and talk about the key of A major. So this is played between A and A. And just a reminder of what a sharp is, first of all. A sharp is when you have a note like C, and instead of playing that note, you're going to play one note directly to the right of it, which in this case happens to be a C sharp. So I'm going to give you 3 notes that we're not going to play, and we're going to play the sharp instead. The first one is an F. So instead of playing an F, you'll play the F sharp here. The second one is that C. Instead of playing a C, we play a C sharp. And then the third one is a G. So instead of a G, you'll play the G sharp. So you're going to be playing these 3 sharps here, the first in the set of 2, and then the first 2 in the set of 3 black notes, instead of these 3 notes. So instead of F, C, G, we play F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. So now we're going to play all of the notes from A to A, remembering the sharps and to skip those 3 notes. So here we go. Let's start with just one finger and play the scale. C sharp, F sharp, G sharp, A. And then we come back down. And this is the key of A major. So now that we know our key, and I always like to start with the scale because it does teach our fingers and our hands which notes to play, which notes not to play. We're going to now build some triads. A triad is a set of 3 notes that are stacked on top of one another, and they're going to be built on each of the notes of the A major scale. So our first one is what I just played, A, C sharp, and E. And let me just show you how that is formed. I'm not going to go through this for every single triad, but for the first one, I like to do that because then you kind of understand where it's coming from. So from the A, we're going to go up 3 notes in the scale. 1, 2, 3. That's our C sharp. So we have A and C sharp. And then from the A, we're going to go up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the E. So our first triad is A, C sharp, E. Now for right now, I'm going to keep my chords in my left hand in this stacked form before I show you a different variation that we're going to do for our improvisation when we're playing with two hands. So I have a 1 chord here, and this is an A major. Now we're going to go to a 6 chord. A 6 chord is going to be minor. So from A, let's count up 6 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'll go down to here to this F sharp, and we're going to build a triad on top of this note. So this is F sharp, A, and C sharp. And this might feel a little bit different to you, especially if you're only used to playing in the key of C major, where everything is played on the white notes. This one has 2 black notes in it. So this is an F sharp minor. Our 3rd chord is going to the 2 chord. So from A, we're going to a B. Build the triad on top of that. We have B, D, F sharp, and that is a B minor. So far we have A major to F sharp minor to B minor. And now we're going to go to the 5 chord, which is major. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that is an E major. And we'll go down to this one, E, G sharp, B. Anytime that you have a 2 chord, it usually heads very nicely into a 5 chord. All right, we just have 3 more chords, that's it. So from our 5 chord, which is our E major, we're gonna go to a 4 chord. So from A, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's a D major. So build a triad on top, D, F sharp, A. And then we're going to go back to our 1 chord. So we're going to begin and end on a 1 chord because that kind of closes the loop. It makes it sound like your song has come home or completed itself. Now, if you only wanted to go 1 time through this chord progression, you certainly can do that. Or you can do it as many times as you want to, as long as when you end on that A and it will sound like a complete loop. So now let's go through this chord progression one more time in the triad stacked form to make sure that we have all the chords. Number 1 chord, A major. To the 6 chord, F sharp minor. To the 2 chord, B minor. To the 5 chord, E major. To the 4 chord, D major. And then back to our 1 chord. So you may want to try that a few times to make sure that you understand how your hands are moving. And that is one thing that you can do the whole time is play in the triad form. But now I'm going to show you a secondary, a little bit easier way to form your chords with representative chords. One of my favorite ways to do my left hand is to do representative chords. So instead of doing a stacked chord every time, we're going to represent that. So for our first chord, for our A major, we're going to make an A octave. So from A to A. And that might be enough for your hands, and that's fine. But if you think you can do something in the middle, we're going to put down our 2 finger and put that on the 5th. So remember, originally we have a 3rd here and then a 5th. And so we're just going to do the 5th. Now the full chord is A, C sharp, E with an A on top. You can certainly do that, but a 4-note chord, especially at the beginning, if you're not used to playing a lot, is pretty tough for a beginner. So you can either do 4 notes, 3 notes, or 2 notes. Your choice. That's what I love about improvisation. You get to choose. Okay, so our next one is an F sharp minor. And we have a C sharp in the middle. And then we're going to go to a B minor. I'm going to go to this one because it's closest. B with an F sharp in the middle. And for this one, you can either do it this way, but it doesn't necessarily sound like a B minor because we don't have that D. So sometimes, especially for a B minor, I like to stick with the triad form, because I want to hear that D in the middle to make it sound minor. Otherwise, that can be either minor or major. We don't know because we don't have the 3rd down. So for the B minor, you get your choice of doing it that way or doing the stack. And you'll see me do it both ways as I'm playing. All right, next we have an E major. So we have E with a B in the middle. Then we go to a D major, D with A in the middle, and then back to our A. So I want you to just go through that pattern again and try it. Make sure that you have the movements before you move on to the next step. So now that we know our representative chords, I'm going to show you the rhythm that I'm going to do with my left hand. Now feel free to skip this section if you want to figure out a rhythm all on your own, but I have had some questions lately asking me to dive a little bit deeper into the left hand rhythm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a concept called arpeggiation, and arpeggios just mean that you are starting at one side of the note and you are playing notes individually. So instead of playing together all the time, we are playing notes in any order that we want. So instead of telling you exactly which notes that I'm going to play when, I'm going to give you the rhythm. So remember, we're doing 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to hold each of the chords for 2 measures, or a total of 6 beats. But I'm going to play them so that we're doing 2 eighth notes followed by 2 quarter notes. It'll sound like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. Now, sometimes I will not always keep the notes order in the same direction. So I'm not going to tell you exactly start at the bottom for the first 2 and then do the top one. It just kind of comes naturally to me to play whatever at any time. So I'm going to let you figure that out on your own. However, if you keep that rhythm, it will kind of help you. Now, for all of those, I'm going to do that with our representative chords. But note that when I get to the B minor, the B, D, F sharp, I'm going to do the stacked form. I'm going to go through the whole thing so that you can kind of see what the rhythm is. And I'll count it out for you as we go. 2 measures each. 1, 2, play. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and then end on 1. Now we're going to put both hands together. But actually, before we play both hands at exactly the same time, we're going to do alternating. So we're going to alternate between doing 1 beat with our left hand and 2 beats with our right hand. So we're going to keep our hand in this 5-finger pattern in the right hand. So we have A, B, C sharp, D, and E. So you'll play 1 beat over here with your representative chord, and then 2 beats on this side. So let's go through the whole entire chord progression this way. And even though we're just alternating between left hand and right hand and left hand and right hand, it gets your hands used to playing together. And this is a very good first step, especially if you've never played hands together before. Let's give this a try. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and end on 1 together. So now that you have practiced doing alternating hands, we're going to now put both hands together. Now don't speed on to the next step if you're not prepared, but once you are prepared, then you're going to do that. So in the right hand, we're going to now make use of the entire octave from A to A. So this time, we still get to choose any notes, any rhythms that we want to. You can do more than 1 note at a time if you'd like, but we're really just working on working out a melody in our right hand and then playing that with our left hand. So let's give this a try and see how it goes. I really like doing that previous step because it helps you to really understand the key of A major or whatever key you happen to be playing in at the time. But now we're going to focus a little bit on different ways to do our right hand. So sometimes we like to fill it out a little bit more. And instead of just saying, well, just noodle around and figure it out, let's figure out what's actually happening in the right hand. So what's happening is the fact that we are going to be using chords in the right hand as well so that they echo or mimic the chords that you are doing or representing in your left hand. So let's look at these chords and let's talk about inversions. So inversions is just a fancy word that means instead of playing a stacked chord every single time, you can play it in any order that you'd like. So for our A major chord, our A, C sharp, E, we can play it this way, which is the stack, or we can play the C sharp on the bottom and the A on top, or we can take the C sharp off the bottom and put that at the top. And all of those are A major chords. So we get that choice of choosing all of them. Okay, so I'm actually going to have this be our first part because I see that we're coming up on an F sharp minor. Now again, these are choices that I'm making right now. And when you're playing, you could choose completely different inversions and in different ways of doing this. And they will be legit. It's fine. You don't have to do it exactly how I'm choosing. But for right now, this is my choice. I'm going to have an E on the bottom, A, and C sharp. Then I see that our F sharp minor is coming up next. The keys for F sharp minor are F sharp, A, and C. And see how we already have the A and the C. So all we have to do is move our thumb up to here. So we're just moving from here to here. And to me that sounds better because you're only hearing one note move as opposed to having a stack here and then a stack here. That doesn't sound terrible, but that's a better choice. Okay, then we have a B minor. So the notes for a B minor are B, D, and F sharp. So we already have an F sharp. That's great. This is very close to a D on top, and we just have to move this one up. So we're going from an F sharp to a B minor. All right, so let's look at all that in order. We have our A major to F sharp minor to B minor. And next we have an E. So it is E, G sharp, and B. All right, we have a B down already. G sharp's right here, and we just need an E. So we can either move here or move here. I think we'll do this one because the D is very, very close. That's where we were. Okay, so let's try this whole thing now. All right, so we have, what did we decide? Oh yeah, A, and then we have F sharp to B minor to E, and now we're going to D. D, F sharp, A. All right, there's our D. We can move this down to F sharp and this down to A. So that was not very much of a move, and then we're back to our A. Okay, let's look at this whole thing. And hopefully you kind of understood my thought process there of choosing where exactly I wanted my hands to go. One choice. All right, so we have A to F sharp to B minor, E, D to A. So you can try that all as many times as you need to. And now we're going to add our left hand to it. So we're going to now do the left hand pattern that I told you. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3. Like that. We're going to put the whole thing together. So let's go very slowly and just give this a try. That last step is very important because it kind of shows you the different shapes of chords in your hand as you're moving along. And it will help you to kind of think through that before you go to this last step, which is now adding the different notes of the chord as well as adding some passing tones. This seems like a very almost a nebulous concept for a lot of people because they don't understand how you go from your inversions to something where you're going and playing anything in there. All I'm doing is I'm taking the chord, like for example, this A chord that we started with, and I am using other notes within the scale to pass on by. But really, the main thing that you're hearing is that note. All right, so if I have this as my chord, and then I just kind of do other notes that are in here, they pass on by as you go to the next one. So it allows a lot of freedom in your hand, and this is the part where it will sound different every single time you do it. So what I play today is not at all what I would play tomorrow when I come back to do the same thing. So this is simply an example. This is not to be intimidating. This is an example of what this 3/4 improvisation could sound like, and then try it again and it will sound like something else. So let's give this a try with use of the whole scale. Now I'm going to go anywhere from this A to this A to this A. So I'm going to be moving amongst it. However, you will not ever take your melody where you're doing something like this. If you're moving in such large gaps, it's going to be difficult for your ear to understand. So really, even though I am giving use of this octave and this octave, when we're playing a melody, we're doing a lot of tones that are passing by each other into our next chord. And it'll just help your ear a little bit better. So let's give this a try and see how something like this could sound. I hope you enjoyed that improvisation in this new key of A major and that you will try 3/4. 3/4 doesn't come naturally to some people because we naturally kind of hear in 4 because so many songs are in 4. However, I think that you're going to love playing in 3/4 instead of 4/4. So give it a try. Let me know if there's anything that you're struggling with or want me to clarify in the comments below. And until then, I will see you in the next video.